Hi, and welcome to this episode of Rare Book Chat. I'm Jeremy O'Connor, and I'm here with my co-host,
Michael DiRuggiero.
In this episode, we talk about a very influential book written by a pork and beans man that revolutionized the game of professional baseball and had an impact in many other fields as well. It's a fascinating book. We are also going to discuss a few other items that are interesting and baseball related, including the world's most valuable questionnaire and an old shirt. And this is all because the World Series starts tonight. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, email us at hello@rarebookchat.com. If you'd like links to the items discussed in this episode, you can find those on Instagram or on our website, rarebookchat.com.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Michael.
It's October and it's New York, and that can only mean one thing. Do you know what that is?
The Yankees are in the World Series.
You got it. Thought you were going to say something else.
No, I'm ready.
Postseason baseball. Sorry, Mets fans. But let's not make this a baseball podcast. It's not what this is.
I think we should do that. That's exactly what we should do.
But it's about books, of course.
Books and baseball. Yeah, because,
baseball books.
There's no field of human endeavor that is not one way or another documented, with an important book or publication or some artifact, some document. So, baseball, definitely part of the world of rare books.
That's a pretty powerful statement. I'm trying to think of a way to contradict you, but I haven't thought of a way yet.
Well, it's really a statement about the power of the printed document is what it's really about. Because anything important that's ever happened, there's an important printed document that is directly connected to it.
So before printing, nothing important happened?
No, that's not true.
Okay, can we get back on topic?
And it doesn't have to be printed. There's also, manuscripts, letters, so it doesn't have to be printed. Just keep that in mind.
Okay, I will. Okay, so I got a catalog last week from our friends at Type Punch Matrix. Here's the catalog.
Heard of them.
And something caught my eye, and it is the Bill James Baseball Abstract.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to argue.
I saw it too.
You did? Okay. I mean, it caught my eye as a baseball fan, but it caught my eye as a cool thing. Actually, I'm going to call, right up front, Bill James the Isaac Newton of baseball. How do you like that?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Going with it. Yes, seriously.
I mean, that is big stuff. The Isaac Newton of baseball.
Yes.
Tell me why. Why would Bill James be the Isaac Newton of baseball?
Okay, so just a little background on Bill James. Bill James was this young 20-something working at a pork and beans factory, but a passionate baseball fan. Do you know the story?
So he was a pork and beans man.
At the time, he was a pork and beans man.
Are you a pork and beans man?
No, I'm not a pork and beans man. So Bill James is working on...
Like a can of... Oh, no, hold on. A can of pork and beans. I mean, that'll get you through the afternoon, right?
I'm a vegetarian.
Oh,
it's not going to happen. I'm a hummus man.
Okay.
Chickpea man. So Bill James is working at this pork and beans factory. He's a passionate baseball fan. And sometimes it takes an outsider to see truths. Actually, do you know what? He was one of the Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the early 2000s. And Theo Epstein, who was the general manager of the Cubs and Red Sox at the time, used the phrase invisible truths. I like that.
Yeah.
He discovered invisible truths. I'm not quite sure what it means, but I like saying it. Yeah, listen to this. This is a good introduction to what we're about to talk about. Bill James was an outsider, self-publishing invisible truths about baseball while the establishment ignored him. Now, 25 years later, this was written in 2006. Now, 25 years later, his ideas have become part of the foundation of baseball strategy. Okay, so that's a foundational work. So I'm going to argue that baseball was kind of like people made decisions about from experience, from their playing gut. Oh, this worked then, it's going to work now.
Not just playing gut, but a lot of times those guts were very, very substantial, like the belly. I mean, there were a lot of, and I think that actually was part of the Bill James, pre-Bill James era, when you might have
I think so.
a very hefty, slugger who maybe hits a home run every week or so, but that's about all he can do, and he's waddling around the bases with his gut. And then when he becomes a manager because he's given this substantial contract and he hits 35 home runs a year.
Who's he? The gut man?
The slugger who's got the gut, right? But so then that guy becomes a manager. He gets into the front office, and it's this insular world of boneheaded baseball players, some of whom had very substantial bellies. And then when they got in the front office, they used those bellies to make decisions, but it was all based on what they had experienced in their own careers, and what they had experienced in their own careers was based on other people's bad decisions driven by oversized guts.
Or another way, perhaps, to say it, it's kind of a closed system.
Yeah.
Players hire other players, and if you're not a player, your thoughts and opinions don't matter that much. Yeah, you need an outsider. That's what I like about this.
Yeah, the history of ideas, it was so cool in book collecting and in important documents and so forth. It's almost, not almost always, but it's so frequently, that some unknown outsider, a young guy working in a patent office, revolutionizes the way we think of the whole universe. To go back to your Isaac Newton.
That's an Albert Einstein reference.
Right, I was thinking of Albert Einstein. So yeah, Bill James, pork and beans, man, he was totally an outsider.
Yeah, you know something I've struggled with?
What?
I struggle with the idea that the more you learn and read and study things, the less likely you may be to come up with creative thoughts because you're an insider.
Yeah, your head is getting jammed with the pork and beans of the field.
I know. It's difficult to have an original thought the more you read other people's thoughts.
Right. Okay, so let's stay on with Bill James.
All right, so Bill James didn't have that problem. One of his great advantages is he was looking at numbers rather than the players themselves.
Yeah.
And so the book we're going to talk about is one of the foundations for what became Moneyball. And if you read the book or have seen the movie Moneyball, a really interesting thing is that the old school baseball people judged with their eyes, and their eyes often deceived them.
Yeah.
So the people who actually didn't watch the players could make better decisions purely based on statistics and numbers, which is really counterintuitive and kind of crazy when you first think about it.
Without further preamble, I want to know the name of this book. I want to know how much money it's costing.
Bill James is working at the Pork and Beans factory. He starts analyzing statistics, and he thinks that he has some insights that he'd like to share. So he self-publishes. It publishes even the right word because there's Xerox pages. This book that he calls, I don't want to call it a book, a pamphlet that he calls the Baseball Abstract. And he takes a little ad out in the sporting news. Anyone interested in baseball? You might be interested in this. And 75 copies were ordered, which is not that many.
Wow. Gangbusters.
I've never seen one of and that came out in 1977. I've never seen one of those.
Yeah.
What Type Punch Matrix has is a 1978 baseball abstract, which is extremely rare too. And I like to read the whole title to you. It says 1978 Baseball Abstract, the second annual edition of baseball's most informative and imaginative review. He's not that shy about what it is.
No, I did see this as well. I love there's flair here, and so he's a numbers guy. He's analyzing baseball from afar, but he's doing it with a little panache. He's doing it with some style.
Well, he has to promote himself.
Yeah, I know, but you think of Pork and Beans Man. You think of a guy who's buried himself in statistics and that kind of analysis. He's not the most obvious P.T. Barnum out there.
Correct. Well, 250 people bought the 1978 baseball abstract, and that is what Type Punch Matrix has on sale in their latest catalog. Price $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to have the 77 one though too, but I don't know if you'd ever have a chance to get one.
But I did notice in the description that they say that there are no institutional holdings of the 77, 78, 79, or 1980 editions. None.
That's astonishing. Okay, before we dismiss this as a baseball book, which it is, I do like the thought that this influenced how we look at data in general.
Yeah, exactly. That stood out to me. And the scope of the Bill James influence, it's fascinating to think of this guy with this passion for baseball and statistics and this unconventional way of looking at the game, not just influencing baseball, but as you're saying, like influencing other fields. And it's like setting off this whole, I don't know, is it a gold rush to think of like these outside analysts who can find hidden value or in markets, in polling?
Yeah, no, I think he's inspiring. I think him being an outsider and relying on numbers and information, and I think a lot of the polling data we look at right now, a little bit obsessively perhaps,
Sure,
is based on, it's eliminate anecdotes, look at numbers, look at trends.
Yeah, exactly.
Try not to let your emotions or impressions or, as you were saying, your gut get involved.
Right.
And I think a philosophy in many fields right now is that we have biases, we have things we're looking for, and we're trying to remove that when we're really trying to understand something or model it.
Right.
And he's doing that here.
Extremely cool. So it's what, $7,000. I mean, would this be as exciting if the scope of James's influence was only limited to baseball, or is the fact that he influenced the way that people think, other statisticians and analysts and so forth? Nate Silver comes to mind. Does that make it more exciting, more important? What do you think?
Absolutely makes it more important. Yeah, I'm arguing it's not just a baseball book. I'm arguing it's symbolic of an outsider changing something, a pivot point in a field, and then influenced other fields also.
But it's also interesting, because you can think of baseball as just a sport, but there's a lot of money in baseball. So getting this right would be really valuable to a professional team. The story of Moneyball, the Oakland A's and Billy Beane in the 90s.
Well, Bill James was later hired by the Red Sox.
Right.
So he went from pork and beans to the Red Sox. So when he worked for the Red Sox as an advisor, he was no longer a pork and beans man.
Right. So the story of the Oakland A's too is like that they put together these rosters with really unheralded players, some who had hidden value that the other general managers in the league couldn't identify, and so the Oakland A's could compete and maybe even get to the playoffs. With a team that had a salary base, a fraction of, say, the New York Yankees, to take us back to where we started, which is the New York Yankees are in the World Series. So
yeah, but we can look at that for any market. That's what we're all trying to do.
Yep. All right, let's move on.
So anyway, I like that. And also that drove me to their website. Not coincidentally, I saw another book on baseball, which is really cool. So that was 1978, the Baseball Abstract. And now I'm turning the clock backwards to 1866. Remember I mentioned earlier, the first professional baseball team was 1869. This is 1866, and it's a book called The Playground, or Outdoor Games for Boys. First edition of this book of games for American boys in the 19th century with an early description of baseball. Do you want to hear about the other activities listed in this book?
Sure.
Okay, first I'll read from their description about baseball. This game, which is rounders or town ball, reduced to a system and governed by scientific rules, is a graceful and invigorating pastime and bids fair to become to this country what cricket is to England, the national game.
Quite a prediction. You nailed it.
Exactly. That's prescient.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's listed alongside other games such as Baste the Bear. I don't know what that is. Sounds a little dangerous. Hook'em Sniffy. Duck on the Rock.
Oh, boy.
Hook'em Sniffy.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Teetotum.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's a cool book. It's a very pretty book, too.
Yeah. Great. How much is that?
That is $1,800, and it has this illustrated cover of people, I don't know what they're playing.
Yeah.
Playing one of the games mentioned there, probably. So it's $1,800, an early baseball book, 1866, and that is early. So type punch matrix in the spirit of postseason baseball.
I like it. Back to Yankees Dodgers, because that's the World Series. Earlier this summer, there was that Babe Ruth jersey that sold at Heritage. Do you remember? Do you see that?
Heritage Auction. Did I see it? Yes. I followed that story quite closely.
Yeah. I thought it was fascinating. It sold for $24 million, right?
Whoa. To go back to our Constitution discussion.
Yeah, right. How
more than twice the price.
There you go. Why? Okay.
Of the U.S. Constitution.
It's very, very apt. Well put.
Wow. So we should not be belittling books about baseball. Oh, we weren't.
No.
But we shouldn't.
Yeah, Babe Ruth jersey.
Well, what's special about this jersey?
Supposedly, and I want to come back to that point, Babe Ruth supposedly called a home run during Game 3 of the 1932 World Series, and then he hit the home run, right? So he points to and we all know this, like, baseball lore and whatever. He points to the outfield with his bat, and he's saying, like, yeah, I'm going to hit a home run right now, and then he goes and hits a home run, okay?
And then when you play wiffle ball years later, you do the same thing.
You do the same thing until you're about 18 years old, and then you didn't really have to grow out of wiffle ball. But I think you can still play when you're 17. Anyway.
I play wiffle ball now. Back to story.
So this thing made me $24 million, but I was thinking about it at the time, and in our business, you so frequently have questions of authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah. And is the signature real? Is the document, what it purports to be?
We know what authenticity means,
right? But this fascinating thing about this baseball, called shot jersey is. Okay, so we know it's definitely Babe Ruth's jersey, but it's disputed whether or not it actually happened that he called the shot. So authenticity question in the baseball in the Babe Ruth jersey for $24 million.
It could just be a jersey he wore.
Yeah, did the underlying event itself happen? I mean, that is a completely anomalous, from what I can think of, authenticity question. Did the event itself happen? And somebody made a $24 million wager that it did.
Or does it matter? So just a little background. At the time, it wasn't made a big deal about. And I think Ruth even said he was pointing to the Cubs dugout. And then newspaper picked it up, and then other players started talking about it. And it became a legend over time.
Mm.
So my hunch is it didn't happen. But does it matter? Because it's part of like Americana storytelling.
It would matter to me. I mean, like it would rankle me though if I bought that jersey and I was sitting there looking at it, I'm thinking like, did he really do that? Then because there are other Babe Ruth jerseys out there.
Right, well, would you want the axe that George Washington cut the cherry tree down with?
Or the apple that landed on Newton's head? I would not want that apple.
No, but these are the similar sort of things, legends that are created. Because I'm going to out on a limb here and saying that Babe Ruth did not call his shot. But does it matter?
Yeah, I think it. For me, it does. It doesn't have to matter for you, but if the underlying event didn't happen, then I feel very differently about owning that jersey. I'd be much less excited.
That's a huge number. Let's step back again.
It's a huge price.
I don't understand sports memorabilia.
I know. I don't either.
When you compare it to rare books.
And then, the highest price previous to the Ruth price was $12 million for Mickey Mantle's rookie card, 1952 rookie card. So, you could think of the Constitution as like America's rookie card in a certain way.
Oh, I like that.
That's $11 million, and Mickey Mantle's rookie card is $12, and Babe Ruth's jersey is $24. Craziness. What kind of world are we living in? We need Bill James to do some kind of an analysis to find the hidden drivers of the collectibles markets and find out where are the soft spots, so to speak.
We're lucky that great books can be had for, forget the high end of the market, but you can put together a collection for items that are hundreds of dollars.
Oh yeah, no. But let's keep moving.
Let's go back to books. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, or newspaper articles. So this 8-page newspaper, it passed at Bonham's actually yesterday. And it's just a little thing, but I thought it was really cute. It's a newspaper article in the Cincinnati Commercial, and the article is dated Friday, June 18th, 1869. It's just reporting on the Cincinnati Red Stockings' 14-5 win over the Brooklyn Eckfords.
What? Tell me more about this.
There's nothing super exciting about this. I just enjoyed enlarging the image on the Bonham's website and reading the article, in the description of the game. And it was funny too, because you notice, and it's not surprising, but they obviously don't have the same sports writer lingo that we have nowadays today. And it's just kind of fun. It's like, I'll just start it. It says the triumphant march of the Cincinnatis through the Empire State terminated this afternoon in a game with the Eckfords. The weather was beautiful. There were 5,000 spectators. It was just a fun.
It does sound delightful.
Yeah. And so then I started clicking around and see, this, that. I always kind of see one thing and look for related things. I found something that Between the Covers has. It's this textile artwork depicting a baseball player, and it dates to circa 1870. So right around the same time as this article, right? And it's listed for $3,000. It's a stitched textile panel. It's like 12 by 17 inches, and it's believed that the player depicted is associated with the Cincinnati Red Stockings. And you know why?
Because they were the only team with paid players?
No, this is so worth looking at. This is such a cool piece of art, and it's obviously a piece of folk art. But so there's an image of the player, right? So that's what it is. It's an image of a baseball player. So you have the player, and he's just standing there, sort of husky guy with his mitts, his fists at his waist in this sort of.
I'm looking at it now. I don't think he has fingers.
He doesn't have fingers. No, I think he's in a pretty significant industrial accident. But he's standing. So if you zoom in, right, on his jersey, it says red, and underneath red, you see a stocking. So red stocking, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it's cool. It's very crude looking.
He's also smoking a pipe.
He's smoking a pipe. So,
I think those are some kind of mitts. I think he might have fingers under there.
You think so?
Yeah, this is really worth looking at. This is cool.
I don't see any ears on that face.
Yeah, I think he's got a glint in his eye.
If it weren't for that pipe, I wouldn't even think he has a mouth. In fact,
Can we move on?
it's the stance. He looks pugilistic. He looks, defiant and vaguely hostile. I think. I wouldn't want to bump into this guy in an alley. He looks like he'd have a few sharp things to say. Although I don't know if he would, because it may not have a mouth.
Yeah, I like the guy.
Oh,
What?
more baseball. The coolest thing, Yankees Dodgers. Jackie Robinson. How about that questionnaire that sold?
Yes, this is great. This is a fantastic idea.
It was a questionnaire. Jackie Robinson filled it out. It was in the 1940s, and
It was before he was in the major leagues.
Right, and it was this. It's simply a question of one piece of paper. This is totally from memory, but there must be no more than 50 words on the page in his hand. And I remember that he writes on this questionnaire that his ambition is to promote black players in professional baseball, which is such a cool thing to have on such an ordinary document, ordinary seeming document in Jackie Robinson's hand. Think about Jackie Robinson playing in the major leagues and what a significant thing that was in the civil rights era. So, and we're talking about Bill James and his insights into unlocking hidden value among baseball players. And not that there's two very different things. In terms of, historical importance and more than just historical, but the right and wrong question. It's funny because big things can come out of sports.
Yeah, it's dated 28th of March, 1946.
Oh, you found it.
And I found it. And his debut with the Dodgers was April 15th, 1947.
Wow.
Can I tell you what this sold for? Do you know? It sold in 2022 for
$1.6 million.
$1.68 million. Because again, it's transcending baseball, as you were indicating.
That's right. Yeah. And so bring us back to Bill James. There are some books, many books out there that collectors really will pay top dollar for that are related to, say, success in business. The security analysis is an example. Bill James's approach to statistical analysis in baseball had spillover effects in other fields, things that Michael Lewis has written about, The Big Short being what comes to mind first. But, you can imagine collectors who are not really baseball collectors maybe gravitating towards Bill James.
And Jackie Robinson.
It's interesting that one of the insights that Bill James is best known for is the idea that on-base percentage is a better indicator of a player's value than batting average. The simple idea being that it doesn't really matter how you get on base. It's just getting on base is the most important thing. But, if you hang around a little league field, they're going to hear a parent or some coach screaming, a walk is just as good as a hit. Now, one thing I will know.
Yeah, they're trying to make their kid feel good.
Right. And the thing is, they never say that to the best hitter on the team. It's always the kid who cannot hit that they're screaming, a walk is as good as a hit, because they want that kid to just not swing and hope that the pitcher either beans him.
All right. We're way off books, but I could tell a really quick story. Really quick. I already took too many words. So when I was in Little League, one of the players on the team who was maybe the worst player on the team, but his father was the coach, and his father was kind of angry a lot. Mm-hmm. So he yelled. Everybody's listening. He yelled to his son because his son wasn't good at walking either. He would swing too much. Get hit by the pitch. That's the only way you're going to get on base. How mean is that? You can scar a kid for life.
It's very mean.
And then he did get hit by the pitch. And then he tried to steal second, and he got thrown out by 10 feet. He's coming back to the dugout. His dad's freaking out, and he really really sweet kid. He was a friend of mine, really sweet kid. He looks up at his dad and said, I would have made it, but the wind was against me the whole way.
Oh boy.
I remember, this is obviously a lot of years ago, but this stuck in my head because it's really
traumatizing.
There's a father-son thing going there. There's a poignant moment. I can recreate it visually.
Yeah, I have a very vivid memory from when I was in Little League. A kid in my grade, and his name was Judah, and he was in left field. He was a really nice kid, really smart kid, a very good musician, just a really cool kid. He's in left field, and the ball just, landed right in his eye socket.
Oh, I did not see that coming. Neither did he. Oh, too soon? Too soon?
No, he's fine. He was fine. I don't know if it hit right in his eye socket, but it definitely hit the poor kid.
I wish I could unhear that.
And I was a kid, so it's just such a weird thing. You have the weirdest things that you remember. You're talking about this kid getting bowled over by the wind and his father screaming at him. And next thing you know, I'm thinking about poor Judah and the fly ball that he didn't see coming.
Let's move on.
Where do we go? Where do we go from there?
We'll watch the World Series.
Who's going to win?
Well, that's obvious.
No, is it really?